I never thought I'd be the guy writing a story like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been married to Lisa for about 6 years now. We seemed like the perfect couple, happy, stable, with a good life. We had a nice house, decent jobs, and I thought we were pretty connected. But honestly, looking back, there were signs I just didn't want to see or I brushed off. She'd get snappy more often than not, dismissing my concerns with that snippy little smile of hers, saying I was paranoid or overthinking. She accused me of being clingy or controlling when I'd ask why she was acting cold or distant. The first real red flag was the sudden change in her schedule. She started coming home later than usual, claiming it was just work stuff. But I noticed she was hiding her phone more, texting constantly, and deleting messages right after. I didn't want to be that guy who invades her privacy, so I kept quiet, hoping it was just work stress or some new friend. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I'd catch her glancing at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking, or she'd come home smelling like perfume I didn't recognize. Little things, but enough to make me suspicious. Then one night I decided to install some security cameras around the house. I figured if I was going to be in the dark, I might as well have evidence if something was really going on. I didn't tell her. I didn't need her knowing I was watching her every move. I set up cameras in the kitchen, living room, front door, just to cover the main spots. My hope was, if she was innocent, there'd be nothing on the footage. If she was hiding something, I'd catch her. I didn't expect to find what I found that very next day. I work long hours, so I was at the office when I decided to check the camera footage out of curiosity. I had no idea what I was about to see. I remember clicking play and seeing her in the kitchen cooking dinner as she always does. But then, the camera caught something that made my stomach drop. I saw her texting on her phone, then suddenly a figure appeared. It was our personal chef, Mark, this guy we've had coming in to prepare meals for us. Normally, I'd trust him, he's been working for us for months, but what I saw next was enough to make my blood run cold. Mark was leaning in close to Lisa, whispering something, and then out of nowhere she kissed him. I mean full-on, lips to lips in our kitchen. I froze. My mind couldn't process what I was watching. They kept whispering, and I could see their hands touching inappropriately, her hands running over his chest, him grabbing her waist. It wasn't just a quick kiss. This was full-blown cheating right in my house while I was at work, completely unaware. That kiss went on for a few seconds, but it felt like hours. I replayed it over and over, trying to believe it wasn't real. But there it was, clear as day. My wife cheating on me with the guy who's supposed to be helping us. I didn't know what to feel first: anger, heartbreak, betrayal, or disbelief. All I knew was that I'd been played for a fool. It made me question every moment, every conversation, every date night we had. I couldn't sleep that night, just staring at the footage, thinking about how she'd lied to my face over and over, how she'd painted herself as this perfect wife when she's been sneaking around behind my back with our own personal chef. For the first time, I really saw her for who she was, a bitchy, manipulative liar who thought she could get away with anything. And that's when I started planning what to do next. The next morning was like waking up in someone else's nightmare. I could feel the weight of everything from the night before pressing down on me. My stomach was tight, my fists clenched, and I kept replaying that damn footage over and over, as if I could somehow find a different ending. I remember sitting there, staring at my phone, about to call her, but something held me back. Instead, I decided I needed to confront her face to face, get it all out in the open. I thought maybe hearing her deny it or lie her way out would be better than just spying from the shadows. So I waited until she got home. My mind was racing the whole day. I kept telling myself to stay calm, to be rational, even as the rage simmered underneath. When she finally walked in, she looked annoyed, like I was bothering her. She tossed her bag on the counter and sniffed her nails, trying to act like everything was normal. I didn't give her the satisfaction. I just turned on the TV and waited for her to speak first. She finally looked at me, that smirk creeping onto her face. "What's wrong, Mike? You look like you've seen a ghost." I didn't bother hiding it anymore. I just showed her the footage on my phone, her kissing Mark, touching him, sneaking around in our own house. Her face went from smug to stunned, then angry. She started that typical bullshit about how I was paranoid, how I was imagining things, how I didn't understand her, that she was just helping him because he was struggling with his job. She even threw in some tears trying to play the victim. "Mike, you don't understand," she spat, her voice trembling with fake emotion. "It was nothing. Just a moment of weakness, I swear. It's not what it looks like, you're overreacting." She kept lying as if that would make everything go away, but I wasn't buying it. I looked at her coldly and told her I saw everything, that she was a cheating bitch and that I wasn't going to pretend I didn't see the truth. Her reaction was priceless. She scoffed, rolled her eyes, then called me crazy for making a scene. She said I was insecure, that I was jealous because she looked good and she'd been working extra hours. She insisted that Mark was just helping her with dinner, that there was no affair, no cheating, no nothing. But I could see her eyes, they were darting around, trying to hide her guilt. I knew she was lying, and I knew I couldn't trust her anymore. That moment I felt a strange mix of heartbreak and fury. My wife, the person I trusted most in the world, was screwing around behind my back with someone I thought was just a hired help. I told her I didn't want to talk anymore. I needed space, time to think. I packed a bag and left for a hotel, not sure what I was going to do next. That night I sat alone in that room, staring at the ceiling, feeling like I'd lost everything. Every memory of us, every promise, every moment we shared suddenly felt hollow. I felt betrayed, furious, broken all at once. How could she do this to me? How could she lie so effortlessly, so convincingly? I was angry at Mark too. He was supposed to be a professional, and instead he was just another guy betraying me in my own house. The hardest part was the disbelief. It was like waking up in another reality. I kept thinking, how could she just lie like that? How could she pretend everything was fine for so long? I kept asking myself if I'd missed the signs, if I'd been blind to what she was doing right under my nose. But deep down, I knew. I always suspected, I just didn't want to admit it. Now, it was all out in the open, and I had to face the consequences of trusting someone I thought I knew. The pain was still fresh, and I wondered how I was going to move forward from here. After that confrontation, I knew I had to come up with a plan, something to make her see I wasn't going to be her doormat anymore. I wasn't going to let her keep lying, sneaking around, and treating me like I was some idiot. I decided I'd gather more evidence, not just to confront her again, but to really see what she was up to. I installed more cameras, this time in the bedroom, the garage, and even near her phone charger in the bathroom. I wanted every angle covered. I also started digging into her phone, sneaking around her digital life. I knew it was wrong, but honestly, I was desperate. Over the next few days, I watched her behavior shift. At first, she was defensive, trying to act innocent, but then she started acting more detached. She'd go out for shopping, but she'd return late, smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. Sometimes I'd catch her texting someone, then quickly deleting the messages when I'd walk into the room. The more I watched, the more furious I got. It was like she was trying to hide her tracks, but she was terrible at it. Every little lie, every half-truth she told, she slipped up more than she realized. One night, I caught her in the act again. I was lying in bed watching the footage when I saw her sneak into the garage. I followed her quietly and peeked through the window. She was meeting Mark again in our driveway with a blanket spread on the hood of her car. They were kissing again, more passionately this time. I saw her hands all over him, her lips pressed against his neck while they whispered, just like on the footage from earlier, but this time I had it in real time. That was the moment I knew I had to do something drastic. I felt that old, burning rage come back. I knew I couldn't just sit around and let her destroy what was left of our marriage. I had to make her see what she was risking, me, my sanity, everything I worked for. I decided I'd set her up. I wanted her to finally realize I knew everything. I started planning how to catch her red-handed, how to make this as humiliating for her as possible. I wanted her to see I wasn't the fool she thought I was. I was going to expose her in front of everyone, make her regret ever crossing me. The thing was, I knew this wasn't just about catching her cheating. It was about making her understand she couldn't keep lying and sneaking around without consequences. I wasn't going to be her punching bag anymore. I'd spent days feeling hurt and betrayed, but now that turned into a cold determination. I was sick of her bullshit, sick of her lying, sick of her treating me like I was some idiot she could manipulate. The more I watched her, the clearer it became. She was cunning, she was manipulative, and she thought she could get away with anything. Well, she was wrong. I was ready to show her that. The night I finally executed my plan, I felt a strange mix of adrenaline and cold resolve. I set up a hidden camera in the garage where she kept her car, making sure it had a clear shot of her meeting with Mark. I planted a tiny microphone in her purse, just enough to pick up their whispers. I wanted everything on record. I knew once I had proof, real, undeniable proof, I'd have her right where I wanted her. That evening she left the house again, claiming she was meeting her friend for drinks. I watched her leave, heart pounding, knowing this was the moment. I stayed hidden in the living room, watching the clock, waiting for her to come back. When the time came, I turned on the cameras, set everything to record, and waited. I felt like I was in some detective movie, only this was my own life. About an hour later, I heard her keys in the door. She came in, flustered, trying to act casual. I played it cool, pretending I didn't notice. But then I pressed play on my phone, and there they were, her meeting Mark again, this time more intimate than ever. I saw her slip into the garage with him, and I saw them kissing, touching, whispering. It was all there, the proof I needed. I sat there watching her on the screen, feeling a sense of satisfaction mixed with nausea. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. I didn't rush to confront her right away. I wanted to let her stew in her own guilt. Instead, I kept recording, kept watching. I wanted her to see I had all the evidence, that I was serious about confronting her. I knew she would try to deny it again, but this time she wouldn't be able to. I had her dead to rights. The next morning I waited until she was still asleep, then quietly went into the bedroom. I set my phone to record a video of her sleeping, then played the footage of her with Mark on a loop. I wanted her to wake up and see she couldn't deny her actions. When she finally stirred, I turned the screen toward her and said, "Lisa, I've got everything. Every single lie, every meeting, every kiss. Don't bother denying it. This isn't just about a little mistake. You've been cheating on me with our own chef." Our own fucking chef. How stupid do you think I am? Her face went pale, then flushed with rage. She sat up quickly, trying to tear the phone out of my hand. "You're crazy," she spat. "This is just some stupid setup. You're trying to ruin me." But I wasn't listening. I was done playing nice. I told her she had two choices: come clean and face the consequences, or keep lying and deal with everything that was coming. She screamed at me, called me crazy, accused me of spying and stalking, but I knew her game. She was caught. That's all that mattered. The evidence was irrefutable, and I wasn't going to let her spin her way out of it anymore. That day, I realized I'd reached the point where I couldn't trust her anymore. Everything she'd said, all her lies, they meant nothing now. I was angry, hurt, and above all, sick of being played for a fool. I knew I'd have to decide what to do next, whether to fight for her or walk away. But one thing was clear: she'd pushed me to the edge, and I wasn't going to go easy on her this time. The aftermath of that morning was a storm I didn't see coming. Lisa sat there, furious, trying to deny everything, her voice rising in that bitchy tone she always used when she thought she could manipulate her way out of anything. "You're crazy, Mike," she snapped, tears welling up in her eyes but with that disdainful edge. "You're just jealous, insecure, and you're ruining everything over some stupid videos. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You're overreacting. It's just sex, for God's sake." I looked at her then, feeling a kind of emptiness I hadn't experienced before. The betrayal ran so deep. It was like a punch to the gut every time I saw her ranting, trying to gaslight me into thinking I was the problem. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I knew she was lying, trying to spin the story her way. She was always good at that, lying, manipulating, pretending to be the victim. But I'd had enough. I wanted her to see the damage she'd done, to see that I knew she was a cheater, a liar, and a user. I told her flat out, "You think I don't see what you're doing? You've been sneaking around, lying right in front of my face. You don't get to call me crazy this time. I've got proof, Lisa. I saw everything. The videos, the messages, the meetings in the garage. You're not just a cheating wife. You're a manipulative, bitchy woman who thought she could get away with anything. Well, guess what? I've had enough of your lies." In that moment, she snapped. She stood up, tears streaming down her face, her voice trembling but still laced with venom. "Fine," she spat. If you want to play this game, go ahead, but I swear you're overreacting. I didn't mean to happen, and I don't want a divorce. You're just insecure and jealous, that's all it is. Mark is just a friend helping me out. You're making everything up. I felt a strange mixture of rage and sadness. All the years, all the memories felt like they were crumbling around me. I looked at her with disgust, realizing how much I'd been blind, how much I'd trusted her. And now I was left with a choice, whether to fight for what's left or to finally accept that she destroyed everything we built. I told her I needed time to think. I grabbed my keys and left the house, walking out into the cold, not knowing if I'd ever come back. That night I stayed at the hotel, staring at the ceiling and replaying the events. The footage, her lies, the way she begged me not to leave. It all hit me hard, the feeling of betrayal, the realization that I'd been married to someone I didn't really know. I was hurt, but also angry. Angry at her, angry at Mark, and mostly angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. How could I have been so blind? How did I not notice the subtle signs? I knew I deserved better. I knew I had to decide whether to fight for this marriage or cut ties. But more than anything, I felt betrayed by her, by the person I thought I knew, and by my own stupidity for not seeing the truth. That night, I promised myself I wouldn't let her manipulate me again. I'd faced the worst, and I was ready to move on, whatever that meant. Because at the end of the day, nobody deserves to be cheated on in their own home, especially not by the person they trusted most. The days that followed were a blur of chaos and clarity. Lisa continued to deny everything, throwing tantrums, crying, even trying to guilt-trip me into staying. She'd call me a monster, a jealous fool who was ruining her life over some stupid affair. But I couldn't unsee what I had seen. No amount of her tears or accusations could erase the footage, the messages, or the fact that she had been lying to me for months. In her attempt to manipulate me back, she only confirmed what I already knew. She was self-centered, manipulative, and unfaithful. I made a decision. I couldn't keep living under the same roof with someone so deceitful. I moved out the next day, packing my things while she was at work. I didn't tell her where I was going. I didn't want her to have the chance to spin it or guilt me into staying. I just needed space, clarity, and the chance to breathe without her venomous words constantly attacking me. I found a small apartment nearby, enough space to think and heal. The aftermath was messy. She tried to contact me constantly, begging for forgiveness, claiming she'd changed, that she loved me. But I knew better. Love isn't built on lies, and I wasn't about to be her fool again. I told her to leave me alone, that I needed time to process everything, time I was going to use to rebuild myself. I also contacted a lawyer just to understand my options. I knew I wasn't just ending a relationship. I was ending a betrayal I'd never see coming. In the weeks that followed, I started therapy. It helped me unpack what happened, deal with the anger, the sadness, the humiliation. I realized I'd been putting up with a lot, her bitchy attitude, her mood swings, her excuses, and I let it all slide for too long because I wanted things to work. But the truth was, she never truly wanted to work on us. She wanted her freedom, her secret life, her lies. And I finally saw that I deserved better than a wife who thought cheating was just a stupid mistake, who lied to my face and dismissed my feelings. Now, I'm rebuilding my life. I've stopped blaming myself. Her cheating wasn't my fault, no matter how much she wanted to make me feel like I failed. I've come to terms with the fact that some people aren't worth fighting for. Sometimes, the best revenge is walking away and showing yourself that you're worth more than someone's lies. I've learned to trust my instincts again, to listen to that little voice inside that told me something was wrong all along. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs sooner, but I also know I can't change the past. What I can do is move forward, stronger, wiser. I hope anyone reading this who might be going through something similar understands one thing. Don't ever let someone treat you like dirt. Trust your gut, gather your proof, and don't be afraid to walk away if they cross a line. Because at the end of the day, the only person responsible for your happiness is you. And nobody, no matter how convincing or manipulative, deserves to ruin that.